Hello and welcome to Kicking Tires. My name is Jimmy,
And I'm Justin.
and today is December 1st, the first of
The
the
last month.
holiday.
Oh, the
First of like,
Mariah Carey jokes, the Michael Bublé
yeah,
jokes.
yeah, they all come in essentially. But we got some pretty exciting automotive news this week. We're starting off with Genesis. They launched a brand new executive sedan, well, update to the executive sedan. Kia reviewed the Niro. We have some information on the BMW XM, which I we'll talk more about that later. Um, Aston Martin said that they are going to do a V12 Vantage with a little bit of press materials, and then we want to talk a little bit about Fisker as well. So let's dive right into it. The first thing here is the Genesis G90. So G90 is the top like sedan that Genesis makes, and in fact, is actually the 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 highest point of Genesis because there isn't a GV90 like an SUV version of this executive sedan. This new kind of body style, it's a new direction of Genesis, although it has a very similar kind of look to the old one. Essentially, you got the same dual tier headlight and fender grill light kind of look. It absolutely looks great, but what they've done here is they made it thinner than before, but with newer LED tech and, well, a whole bunch of other stuff, they're able to actually still have the same kind of light output with those LEDs. And that hood, it's a flow, it's a full-on clamshell. So like there's no lines on it to cut into that clamshell on the top to make it just
Mm.
look a lot smoother, a lot cleaner.
The thing is, didn't the G90 just come out like last year?
Yeah, so the G90 keeps getting updated because the G90 I think was like 3 years back, the 2018 version, and then the one that you can currently get is exactly the same on the inside. They just refresh the exterior to keep up with the, well, what the other models of Genesis looks like. So yeah, it has been refreshed quite often on the exterior side. I don't know if this one is exactly the same as the inside, as the current generation,
Hmm.
but they did say that it is a brand new vehicle, but who knows?
Yeah, because I'm like, it looks similar. I don't like what they've done with the rear end.
The
Just the
rear end's a
way it
little different.
resolved does not, I don't know. To me, it doesn't look cohesive with the front. It's kind of,
Yeah,
yeah.
they the current generation G90 looks a little bit more cohesive. Like the front and rear
Yeah. So
looks
if
like
you
it's
pull up a
styled by the same
picture of a
person.
G90, you'll see the front is quite curvy and then the rear is straight edges everywhere, like designed with a ruler on the back. So it's like two different cars. And I'll continue roasting Hyundai, Genesis, Kia for not being able to design cohesive cars and keep their design language going. Genesis had been good up to a certain point, and they revealed that GV60 that looked like a Kona doesn't look like any other Genesis. And then this, like, you can't deny that these are not two different rear. Like one group designed the front, one group designed the rear. I don't think the rear necessarily is a bad design, but it's just not the same.
Yeah, it just
Like,
doesn't really match.
yeah,
It Well, what I can say is I do like the overall sedan silhouette. They haven't tried to go with the, oh, everything has to look like a coupe profile, so it's not egg shaped like the new S classes, for example. This is still very much a sedan with, a strong C pillar in the back that you can see the exact angle of.
yeah, I get that. They did slope the trunk to be a little bit more coupy, I guess.
Yeah.
Like the top edge of the trunk is kind of sloped backwards, and yeah, it looks like almost the car is going backwards. The way they have sloped the top of the trunk kind of, yeah, it makes the car
Yeah.
look a little bit backwards.
One thing
Some
that they
angles.
one thing that they did point out was the grill. The grill, of course, is the big Genesis crest, and it takes up the entirety of the front end of the vehicle. What they say is it's a layered architecture finish grill of two G matrix patterns layered on top of each other to create a 3D effect. I've seen basically every single Genesis grills. They look really nice, and I can't understand why this one would be any or how this one would be any better than the current generation G90. Because the current Gen G90 grill is super intricate already. So I'm just thinking like how how can they improve on that?
Yeah. I just saw a picture of speaking of how discombobulated their design looks. If you pull up a picture of a long wheelbase version of this, it looks even weirder because the front half is definitely like it looks like one of those weird limo truck conversions where yeah, the front B pillar forward is one car, B pillar back, and the extension is a different car.
Yeah, we're
Um,
probably not going to get the long wheelbase here in North America because we generally just get the regular wheelbase, or we just get the long wheelbase. Like we don't get the option of the two. North America, they don't sell enough cars to justify the two versions here.
Yeah, and the way they've done the long wheelbase design is literally just stretched in a straight line,
The
the
roof
top of the
line,
window,
yeah,
and so it's just not a very classy design. I don't know. To me, this is a flop just in terms of design. Like you're you want to compete with the big boys, and you probably have a product that is engineered to do so and undercut people as well, but um, I don't know how you can overlook something like this because yeah, just seeing the long wheelbase from the side it's disgusting.
yeah, it's definitely not. It's not as graceful as the current Gen G90. I mean, the I remember when I compared a G90 with one of my friends 745. It was a 7 series. I can't remember 745, 750, one of those essentially. And we're just talking about the price point. This is Alex's car, and he got his, I think it was like a 2 or 3 year old 7 series, and it was the same price as the G90.
Hmm.
Like a 2, 3 year old 7 series depreciates by a lot,
Mhm.
and it was the same price. So that was actually quite interesting
But one of
because
the cars that do also depreciate a lot is any full size Genesis.
that's true. So like, if you really want to buy, a G90, I mean, if you don't mind the current one, there's actually, I think there was one on sale at a GM locally for like 30 grand. It's
Yeah, like the Equus and these cars, like they are not great resale value cars.
There's an
But
Equus.
ultimately, if you're shopping in this range, you should not be penny pinching. And I think that is going to be the issue with the G90 is you can't just beat the Germans in terms of features and price point, right? You have to have that X factor. And I think the design of this is so in the opposite direction of that X factor that this is gonna hurt the car. Um, I think it's a step back for G90 to be honest.
Well, to be honest, I think the entire Genesis lineup has been pretty good. The G70, maybe not so much now, but the GV70, the G80, like it's super competitive in
Yeah,
their
the
segments.
G80 is so nice.
Yeah.
So to step up to this, but this needs to compete with the S class, right? Like Mercedes, it doesn't matter how anything else does. Like their S class has to be, that is your flagship. This is what you're presenting to the world. I don't care that the rest of your range, how it is, but as a luxury brand, your top of the line car, for it to, I don't know, not be that attractive per se. That I don't know. It's quite an obstacle for me.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Speaking of obstacles, the Kia Niro. the design language of this is, as you said it best, weird.
Yeah.
just just full on weird.
Yeah, the,
So
the 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 current Niro is a little bit weird, but not that weird. Like it's pretty safe in that anyone different age groups might want to buy it. I did consider one before getting my RAV4, but because it's front wheel drive only, I kind of not that interested in it, even though it looks all crossovery. Very efficient car, but not really my cup of tea. The front wheel drive crossover is not my cup of tea.
so the Nero is, it's either a hybrid, a plug-in hybrid, or a full electric vehicle, and the new one's going to continue as such. This new one looks, it almost looks like a Renault.
Yeah,
Like
it's
it.
got that like Clio front end.
Yeah, it's very different. I like it, but like you said, it's just not cohesive with the brand. But like it's so weird. Like the side cladding, the
The
this
side
cladding.
cladding is okay. The side C pillar is very weird. Like
Well, if you take a look at the cladding on it though, it's the cladding goes from the front bumper over the front
ends
wheel
at the rear door.
and ends before the rear wheel. So like it stops. It's super weird there. And then it starts on top of the rear wheel and goes up the C pillar almost to the roof, but doesn't hit the roof. So it's like it has a side blade that the Audi R8s have. It's super odd, but the tail light, I must admit, that's a very, very good looking tail light because it's like this boomerang shape that's
Mm.
on the top. It's
Interior is a lot nicer than the current Niro
oh
from what
the
I can see.
the interior is absolutely beautiful, but I gotta say this: every single Kia Hyundai vehicle, when you look at their pictures, they always look good. But when you sit inside, you start feeling the materials. That's when it, just kind of falls apart a little bit because like it has the two
Two spokes,
displays. Oh
the two
well,
spoke steering wheel,
the
like
two
the Genesis that you don't like.
yeah, those two spoke steering wheels, it's odd itself. So the screens behind, so like the cluster as well as the infotainment, it looks like it's a typical Kia Hyundai 10 and a quarter inch screens. They work fine, but what happens is because they are two independent screens, you see this big black bezel around it and it just does not look good. And the I mean, of course, we don't know, what the materials of these,
It's all
seats and
recycled. Like
whatnot.
the big thing is, I think with this generation, they're really pushing for that green material choice, and so the paints, the headliner, the interior panels, everything is recycled, which typically means it's not going to feel as good.
Yeah, generally speaking, the eco-friendly materials, they don't feel as good, and they don't. I mean, they, like I said, they just, it looks really good in photos, but in person, they just doesn't feel like it's a high quality product. And we talked about this before. Like, more for me, I appreciate a high quality interior, whereas yourself, Dustin, you're like, I can live with something a little bit less on the
Yeah,
inside if they put it, the funds elsewhere within the vehicle.
yeah, I'm kind of like that because I feel like every car that once you drive it for a month or two, like the interior, you just kind of it checks out. Like you don't really, it doesn't move the needle for you anymore. Like there's a few things. Like a steering wheel has to feel good. I think that's number one. Seats have to be good, and then everything else, it doesn't really matter that much to me. Um, but yeah, the that C pillar, it's not on any other Kia, right? I
No,
I can't think of one in recent history that has
no,
that design.
not one from factory, anyways.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the Forte, the Sportage,
No,
Sorrento,
there's
Stinger,
zero vehicles that look like this. This is
even
if
the EV6, which is kind of the most kind of oddball, standout car, does not have that design element. So why are they doing this? Because to me, the Nero new design looks like an unPDI'd car. Like it looks unfinished because they left that spot. Like that's like a piece of plastic you're supposed to peel when you take delivery of a car. Like, oh, you know, I think not only does it cost more to make a car this way because you're not painting it all at once. Like this panel is separate from the roof.
I'm
Uh,
I'm thinking that panel is just. I don't think that's going to be a metal panel that's on top.
oh, like it's just something slapped on top of
Yeah. So like I'm thinking
possible.
like if you think of it as cladding, right?
Yeah.
Slaps on top. If it's something like that, it doesn't really hinder costs. And from the press release here, we can see that there's two different colors, at least in the press photos. There's a white car with like a gray blue panel, and then there's a green car with like a darker gray or black panel. If it may be something that's switchable, because like if you think back at like,
Smart 4.2.
oh, I was actually thinking of like Saturn.
Uh,
The Saturn had the pillar that you can completely switch out,
yeah.
which no one ever did because why would you? But I was thinking something like that. Maybe you can like snap it off and put another color on. Maybe.
Yeah. That's definitely a really bizarre design. The Niro, I don't know. It's a great car that will suit a lot of people's needs, and it's like fairly affordable.
Hmm.
Um, I
But
don't mind it.
the thing is, the the Niro you can get it in a hybrid, plug-in hybrid, as well as the EV. The hybrid and plug-in hybrid, they have a case for why they exist.
Mhm.
The EV, I don't think it does, simply because they make the Soul EV. And if I'm gonna,
Yes.
you know, buy a funky Kia that's an electric vehicle, I'm picking the Soul 10 times out of 10. I'm not gonna look at the Nero. The Soul is just cooler. It looks like a
The
helmet
Range Rover.
or a Range Rover if
Yeah,
you
I love the Soul. It's such a like quirky looking car without being like, it's not like sexy in any way, but it's like okay, I get it. Like it's kind of
yeah.
unique. And Nero EV is a little bit more than a Soul EV actually.
Oh, really?
Um,
Hmm.
at least with the current gen. And then obviously we have the Ionic or no, not the Ionic, the EV6 coming
Right.
soon. So I don't know if there's a reason to do EVs for this when the full on EV is going to be here, and the full on EV is going to have less compromises uh, and do a better job at being an EV.
Yeah, I mean it's all packaging, right? When it's designed from the bottom up as an electric vehicle, it's going to be a better vehicle for that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of weird and oh, well, this website didn't work at all.
Era. Die
Uh,
Angel vor der Städte.
I all
Why
right.
are you in a
Well,
German site?
I was on the right site. I don't know what happened. All right. So the next thing we're talking about is the BMW Concept Xm, and
This is
uh,
the most well, not even controversial, but
it's
most talked about new car
oh,
release this week. Uh,
there's I'm
it's
Facebook groups and on and whatnot. There's so much hate towards this thing.
yeah,
People
as
are
with
like,
any new BMW model,
yeah,
because it's just a joke in itself, right?
BMW right now, what they're doing is they're producing cars, they're producing these concept cars, and they're like, how ugly can
No,
we
they're
make it?
producing grills and then making cars around it. they're an exclusive grill company
They're a
now.
grill company now.
I don't know the XM. So what the XM is? It's like a big ass SUV with huge power. It's 2022. Where's the case for this? I get cars like the Rolls Royce Cullinan. I get the X7, but something like this is a bespoke M model, so it will only be available as an M car. It's very unique in its design, to put it nicely.
I was gonna say that's so nice.
Very unique. I mean, okay, so they did achieve maximum presence, as BMW says. It's a very extroverted car, as they say. The front end, I'm actually okay with. It's so obnoxious, but it makes sense when you're making, this a car at this price point and this level, with this kind of power. It has. I get the front end. The rear end is so ugly.
So I want to talk about this front end a little bit more here. So it's hard for you to see in these press photos that they have on their site. But I was actually digging into other websites like Jalopnik and whatnot. And I found out that during the live presentation of the vehicle, you can see that the headlights are not only on the top, so they're not right beneath the grill, those two little dots there. You also have lights on top of the windshield in the corner. So
Mm.
these are lights on the top, right on the top of the windshield. And to the right and left, I mean, on both sides of the grill, there's these tinted black spots, which are also lights.
It's
There's
pretty cool, not gonna lie. The
there's
roof
lights
headlight is
everywhere.
cool.
The
There
roof,
actually is a lot of cool elements on this concept. If we look past it and like stuff that may carry over to other BMW models, um, there's actually a few cool things. We'll talk about that.
it's
Uh,
it's super weird, but I mean, I can see how they implement a lot of the design language that's in this into upcoming BMW models
yeah, but the
because
weird thing is this is a production car. Like this is set to hit the showrooms late next year, early 2023, late 2022. So I'm like, really? They're gonna build this thing?
well, it's different. Let's say that I don't know. It's there's just so many things about it. The back end looks like you're saying how the Genesis G90 isn't cohesive, front and rear. Like I mean, it's so different the front and rear of this thing. It just
Okay, so the back end of this is actually not. It's the tail lights that are not cohesive, but the actual shape is very unique and very strange, just like the rest of the car. The tail lights, they're really odd and curvy. They look like a high heel shoe if you
yeah, yeah.
and it wraps to the front of the, like, very far forward on the car. I think BMW's done a really bad job with taillights lately. The new 240i is like that too, where the
Hmm,
rest of the car looks kind of nice, and then they just ruined it. Like it's got
with the tail
one
light.
ugly sore thumb, and I think on this they could have done a way better job with the taillights and made something that looked as aggressive as the front, because the rear is curvy and soft with the taillight, while the shape, if you ignore the taillights, the actual shape is pretty aggressive. Like the fender flare, the roof line, the window shape,
The
which,
window looks like it curves out.
yeah, it definitely does, and it's got these little devil horns on the top, reminiscent of the M1, the
Oh,
Lambo. Was that Lambo or Ferrari? I forgot.
speaking of M1, it has two BMW badges on the rear. On the
Mm. Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah,
on the yeah,
the
on the
roundels on the window
yeah. So
instead of on the tailgate. There's no BMW badge on the tailgate.
you have a X and an M badge on the tailgate. The roundels like they're homage to the M1, and because the M1 had two BMW logos just on the trunk there. Not trunk, it was an engine cover. But it looks super weird. Exhaust tips, there's like two triangles or four triangles really on either side. One points up and one points down. Like it's just
Yeah,
it's
it's
super weird.
it's
Like
it's very odd. Okay, I found a really cool design touch that they've done with the window though, because it's got those devil horns. When you look at it from straight back, the car looks like it has a coupe roofline. But when you look at it from the side, it's actually very squared off. Um, it's
yeah,
it's a very unique touch that I haven't seen on other cars, and again, I think there's cool things to pick out from this car. The interior is one of those things. It's also very weird, very obnoxious, very disgusting, but there's really cool touches here and there.
Okay, let's
So
start from the front to the back.
the
So
front. So the center console, I mean, it looks like a normal BMW, and then everything else is not normal BMW.
yeah, there's elements in here that that's just lifted right from every other BMW, like the iDrive controller, the shifter. That's exactly the same. The steering
Mhm.
wheel is basically the
Steering wheel is
same,
a steering wheel
except it's just covered in cow.
in brown leather everywhere, which is not very 2022. We're talking about how the eco-conscious cars using the recycled materials. No, we're putting at least two or three cows in this interior.
I
Uh,
guess they took like enough cows out of like the I series, the I3 and the
yeah,
I8. They're
and
like,
they're proud of it. Like even the cow, the leather texture is just like very much like a leather couch. Like it's not like the more textured stuff that you find in other BMW models that is very similar to the leatherette stuff, and it's you could probably mix in some synthetic stuff here and there, but this is very much like a cowboy's ranch furniture
yeah,
piece.
it's super weird. The seats, I honestly think the front seats, those look really cool. Like you're saying how it fits like in a ranch. I'm thinking like the F-150 King Ranch edition. If
Mhm.
you take these seats out of there and put it into that, exactly the same. Like
Yeah,
it'll just match.
the steering wheel hub stitching is pretty cool. It's a brown leather steering wheel. And it's got two red marks on it at the 11 and 1 position. It's kind of a square wheel, but kind of not. Uh, I don't know. It doesn't really make sense to me because this from the outside it's a very techy looking like Cybertruck almost type of SUV, right? And then the inside, like it's got very weird, incohesive elements. Um,
I mean,
moving on,
it's still pretty techy. I mean, you still got a big screen for your
two huge
cluster and
screens basically.
infotainment. Yeah,
Yeah, it's still got the tech. What I really like though is the headliner.
yeah. The headline are
So
super funky.
the headliner is very funky. It's textured, so it's got like this 3D kind of Android or iMac wallpaper on it, but it's physically textured, so it's not just like a print. And what they've done is they've put lighting elements all around the roof, and just gives it like different moods, and it really works to make that loungy feel that they're after. The rear seat, however, again, it's a completely different color, and then the
Blue.
bottom of it is is velour, I think.
Yeah,
Uh,
it has
this,
Zap Brannigan's favorite material on the ground. It literally
yeah,
looks like velour.
it
Uh,
looks like a piece of 70s furniture because it's quilted velour and it's in blue, which is very, very like
well,
disco.
the seat is in blue, but the carpet on the ground that is green.
Is moss green. It's high pile carpet. So
Yeah,
it's very 70s. Like this is
I,
I don't get it. Like and then the top of the seat is like the front. Like it's a very like the top of the seat looks like a normal BMW
it looks like a
coupe seat.
Renault uh,
The logo,
logo.
the diamond.
Yeah, yeah, it looks
Yeah.
exactly like a Renault Diamond.
Yeah. But I mean, they're going for a lounge feel, but I feel like they've achieved like a gentleman's club feel. Like with the velour quilting. I don't hate the fact that it's a bench seat though. I don't mind that.
I like bench
No
seats.
seat belts in this concept, obviously, but
Where you're going, you don't need seat belts.
yeah.
It's
Looks like a four-seater configuration, I think.
Yeah, it definitely looks
Uh,
more like a four-seater.
yeah.
It's super cool, but I got to talk about the engine because, or powertrain, I should say, because you know, 2023 vehicle chances is going to be electric, right? Like that's where all vehicles, all concept these days are kind of going towards. But BMW decided no. I'm gonna put a V8 in it. I mean, it's V8 with electric motors and whatnot. They're saying it's gonna have like 750 horsepower, which is absurd, of course. But a V8, like I just for 2023 to have a V8, like it's so it's just so weird, you know? It's not with the times, like to have
Well, it is a plug-in hybrid actually, and it does have 80K of full electric range up to. So as we were talking about what was that little the MX 30, is it?
the
The
MX-30, yes.
how it has a little bit of range and like people will laugh at it, but like I said, if you can afford this six-figure obnoxious SUV, you live in areas that you don't need to drive more than 80 kilometers a day. You're not living far in the boonies. You're living somewhere where 80 kilometers actually will be sufficient. So you probably do have the option to drive this in a
Full electric, yeah.
eco-friendly manner. But knowing that you bought this and the cows you've killed and just like it stands for so much excess that I don't know. I don't think you really care that you can. But no, I think credit where credit's due. It's got legitimate electric range, as much as a RAV4 Prime. So yeah.
I'm looking at their design concept. I understand why they have the two red marks on the steering wheel. It's in line with the shifter paddles behind. So they're just at the same place. So when you're looking down at the red, you can see the shifters. But you can also just look behind the wheel. It's relatively
No, it
large.
carries up that design language. I see in the concept they have little red. I think those are usually the M buttons, and I think
on the
that's kind of
on
what
the wheel
it's.
itself, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't see it in the concept pictures in the real car. But I'm curious how this will look in real life. How the actual production model is going to come out. But I'm curious to see if some of these elements are going to make its way over to other models, because I think having that roof in an X7 or a 7 Series, kind of cool.
The
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 headliner,
headliner, right? Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
having that headliner, having those funky rear window glass, uh, and yeah, the roof headlight, like it looks, it's very cool on an SUV to have LEDs up there, I think. Um,
Probably not so
yeah,
legal to drive with, but that's okay.
yeah,
That's okay. Who cares? You're driving an XM. It
yeah.
doesn't
The
have to be legal.
law bends around you. And, yeah,
I I'm still thinking about those taillights and how it looks like high heels.
yeah. It's the worst thing. Like it's if you see it like straight from the side, it's the worst design. Like I don't know. It doesn't match the rest. I think they could have pulled this off short of the taillights.
yeah.
Um, the front end, like it has the aggression to pull it off. See, this is the thing. The current M3 M4, like the G body M3 M4, everyone still hates it. Um, the small minority of us kind of like it, and as we're seeing more race car versions of it come out, more people modifying them, lowering them, putting wider stance on them, putting a bit of aero on them, it looks really good with the grille, in my opinion. But the problem is you see a 430i and it looks disgusting because it doesn't have any of that aggression to match the in-your-face bold statement that the grille is trying to emphasize on. I think this XM does have the aggression to back it up, short of the taillights.
I I don't mind the taillights that much because it just reminds me of a lot of the coupe BMWs because they all have that kind of line. So to me, it's not that bad, but it just looks really weird because it goes so
Because,
far out
well,
and
the car
forward.
is so jagged. The forward part is the weird thing. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh well, I'm not a car
We're
designer,
not
so
in its target demographic anyways,
yeah.
so
I mean, The only thing I can afford in this in today is probably that Kia Niro. So
Well,
well, I mean, I can probably afford a used Aston because those are relatively cheap, but not this one that we're going to talk about because Aston released a video, 14-second video, where it has the sound of the V12 and a big V12 logo that's like shaking and whatnot, and it says V12 Vantage. Title is Aston Martin V12 Vantage returning in 2022. So the Vantage currently has the Mercedes AMG 4-liter V8. It makes what, 300? No, 503 horsepower. 300? No, 503 horsepower. This V12, it's rumored to have that 5.2-liter V12 that's in the V12 Speedster.
yeah.
Should make
So
690 horsepower.
yeah, because the DBS has over 700 horsepower with the V12. So the V12 Vantage is a very desirable car, I think, just because it's the smaller version with the huge high power engine. Like it's way too much power for it, but uh, the Vantage. The Vantage for me, I love the Vantage, the original one. So from like '06 to like what early 2010s, that one I thought looked better than the full size DB7 or no, sorry, DB9 at the time. But the new Vantage, I have one gripe to pick with it, and I think it's a fatal one, which was the grill. They've kind of fixed it. They've kind of facelifted a bit, but the grill on the Vantage is not as nice as the DBS. Um, I don't know. To me, if you're shopping in this segment, it doesn't matter. Okay, this is the baby Aston Martin with the high end engine. The price point doesn't really matter. The size doesn't really matter. Ultimately, you get the one that you want. If you're shopping for that, you don't. It's okay. Like a couple tens of thousand, not really gonna matter. I think the facelifted grill looks better. But yeah, when this generation first came out, I could not stand that grill. I forgot what year that was.
I I don't see a lot of them. Like here in Vancouver, like it's supercar capital of Canada. Like
Yep.
we get more supercars here than Toronto does. And I haven't seen many of these, if any.
I've seen a few. I've seen more of the DB11s
Hmm.
and I think I can't. Well, I don't know which one I'm looking at, but I have seen a few. But compared to the original Vantage, I think those are more popular. Those
Absolutely.
ones that we saw like a decent amount of. But yeah, when this generation first came out in 2019, the grill extended to the floor, which I didn't like. I didn't like how it just started as grill and worked its way up.
Hmm.
It didn't have the aggression to match it, but I think this V12 one is going to be pretty sick.
Yeah.
Because they're going to restyle it a bit. And even I'm looking at the 2021 Roadster, and it has kind of a more normal looking grill. When I look at the 2021 Roadster, though, I do see a bit of that Chrysler Sebring convertible in it. The '04. It's just got kind of dumpy looking headlights, and like a really wide, fat grill. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I see a bit of Sebring in it, but yeah, V12. That's exciting news for this car. I wonder if it has to do with Mercedes and their V8 engine production thing
Mm,
for 2022. Uh, so yeah,
yeah.
maybe
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 because
that
yeah,
has something to do with it.
they are like you're absolutely right. Mercedes did report that they're basically stopped producing V8s because they just couldn't. So it's possible, or it could be like the last year of the Vantage, and they just
Yeah,
want to,
the last hurrah kind of thing
yeah, they
for
want to give us something a little bit more insane. I mean,
yeah.
I've I've heard, I've heard a V12 Vantage, the old one, drive past me before. The wail of that V12, intoxicating. Like it sounded so good. And there's no doubts that this one will sound just as good. And I think that's really the best part about it. You know,
Yeah, you buy it for the sound. It's not doesn't matter how fast it goes around a Nürburgring. That's not why you buy an Aston Martin. But for feeling special, I think the V12 that's why it matters.
yeah.
So I think it's the right move for them. I think they knew they wanted to put this engine in from the get go. Um, and because we all saw it with the last one, I think the last Vantage, I think that came out in 06, and then we got the V12 about halfway through, like 6 years in. But they dragged that body on for 12 years, and I mean it's a good body. It looks awesome.
Yeah.
And so yeah, with this one, we got 2 years of only having an AMG V8, and now we're getting the V12 finally. But I think from day one they meant to have the V12 in it.
I'm trying to go through their entirety of their
Every
cars.
model looks the same except for the Signet. Except for the Signet and the DBX, everything looks very similar.
Actually, they put a V8 in the Signet? Yeah, they did for Goodwood Festival of Speed. I think that's the craziest.
Yes, V8 Signet concept in 2018 with the
Yeah,
wide body.
yeah, that
That is a death trap.
yeah, it's fine. You just have to have a lot of skill to drive it. I also just want to say, because I'm going through the history here, the Lagonda Tariff. Oh, absolutely beautiful. But it gives me G90 vibes.
The new G90, eh?
Yeah, right? That roof line?
Yeah, a little bit. But this is more cohesive.
Oh, let's be honest. I mean, Aston Martin, of all their cars, they can't make an ugly car. Like I
Even the
look
ugly ones look good.
like this let's be honest, the Signet is a Toyota IQ with Aston slapped onto it. It looks good. Like it
Yeah.
looks really nice. I think the only one that I was kind of like about was like the Zagatos. When the DB7, yeah, they had a DB7 Zagato which had a
With the bubble
really
roof.
large front grille, and that was kind of meh for me. But the rest of them, every single one of them is just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. I think that's the Aston thing is it doesn't have to be the most, high performance vehicle. It's not about the numbers. It's about how it looks, how it sounds, how special it makes you feel. And I think they're still doing a decent job of that. Even with the AMG engines, they were doing okay. Uh, unlike Maserati, who
Yeah,
I don't know,
they kind of fell off. Let's
they
be
fell
honest.
off, and it's kind of sad because in the 2000s, Maserati's kind of a big deal. Like it was a flex, and now you've got the Ghibli, which is a joke. It's a Dodge Charger, and it feels like it. And you'll never sell me on that car. Levante, which is a Grand Cherokee, um, which okay, it looks kind of cool. I don't know, but to me, it's no longer like bragging rights to really own a Maserati because there's so much that's like very flawed with them. It's very
Yeah,
Chrysler
a
now.
lot of them is it's very watered down with Chrysler parts. I think that's the biggest fault with them.
Yeah, but they do
Um,
have that upcoming supercar, the mid-engine, the MC20.
yeah, yeah,
So that should change things up a bit, but that's not what we kind of knew Maserati for. We knew them for their GT car,
and the Quattroporte,
the
that
the coupe, and
like
yeah,
not the current gen Quattroporte, but the last gen Quattroporte. Like when it first came out, I was kind of like, not a fan. But as year progressed, I was like, yeah, it's getting better and better.
sort of
Like,
want it.
yeah, the last Quattroporte, like it was a really nice looking car. Same thing with the Rapide. I'm like, that's a really nice looking car. If you're interested in a Rapide, if you're going Craigslist today, you should see 3 or 4 of them. There's one under $100,000. So, you know, kicking tires top tip. If you want a Rapide, buy one now.
Now is the time. Yeah, no, both are terrible cars to service. Aston Martin and Maserati. I think the new Maseratis, because they are just Chrysler derived, they should be better. But yeah, the finding parts for them is not easy,
Could you
nor is it
imagine
cheap.
like a Maserati owner bringing it to a Chrysler dealership, be like, "Hey, I need to get this service. What kind of loaner do you have?" It's like, "Oh, we have a Chrysler
500L.
200." No, they don't have Fiat dealers anymore. They won't
Yeah.
sell. It, maybe they had a Chrysler 200 left over from before. It's gonna give you that. You sit inside, it's like, huh, it's the exact same. Like the infotainment's the
Oh,
same.
this
Like
is nice.
the
Because yeah,
seats.
you bought it for the badge. You don't really care how it is. And I mean, Chrysler, a Grand Cherokee is a very nice SUV. Like, there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with it.
All right, let's move on to the final topic here.
Yeah.
Fisker.
Final topic that we should have covered last week, if not the week before, but we
I
kind of
think I think it's been
forgot
two
about it.
weeks. Yeah.
This was at the LA Auto Show, and it's kind of an important car, I think, at least for Fisker. Fisker, kind of up and down over the years, to put it nicely. But the Ocean, so the Ocean is meant to be their uh, mainstream car. So it's not as weird as the Karma or Rivero or whatever. Those the previous Fiskers were kind of very nichey cars. Uh, Back in the day, they were just redesigning Mercedes and BMWs and slapping their own badge on it. But no, this is their car. Um, Basically, comes in four different. Well, I want to say three different models because one is just a limited. First like 5,000 of them are going to be
Kind of
the
first
the
edition
one
things. Yeah.
first edition deal. So it's going to be the normal front wheel drive single motor sport, and then you can move up to the dual motor ultra, and then the top of the line is the extreme model. Um, I'm not too sure where the difference between the extreme and ultra is, but there's almost 20 grand between them, US. But we can kind of ignore that one because what really matters is the two lower models. It's the front wheel drive one and the normal dual motor version.
Mhm.
So pretty solid range, 250 miles on the standard. I want to call standard range, but the sport front wheel drive guy.
been 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 around Teslas too much.
Too many Teslas. And then the Ultra. So the higher end ones with the dual motor get these really high efficiency batteries in them, and so they get 350 miles, 340 to 350 miles of range. But so really solid range, and it's 50K US, which is right in line with the Mach E dual motor, a little bit more than a dual motor base Mach E, which is quite base. Like the select Mach-E doesn't even come with heated seats standard,
Mhm.
so it's a really basic car. And even at that ultra level, so the dual motor has 550 horsepower. The standard single motor is 275, so they just doubled it up.
Yeah.
So even at 50 grand, you're doing a 3.6 seconds 0 to 60. So that is pretty impressive for 50K US while having a lot of range, like 500K
I-
basically almost.
So when I was looking at this, I was like, huh, that sport model, 275 horsepower, 250-mile range, 38,000 US. That's not bad. That's definitely not bad at all. I'm sure you can add some options onto it to, give it heated seats or whatever it may be. But like maybe a 45 grand US SUV, like that's not a bad price point. I mean, old Fiskers, they had their problems. The Rivero, they solved a lot of those problems when the Fisker brand got kind of reincarnated. And you know, it shows that the people that worked for Fisker cared enough about the brand to make the Rivero good.
Mhm.
And the Rivero is good, but super expensive because so much R&D was put into it.
Yeah.
So this is like their Model 3, right?
Yeah, because the Rivero, they're trying to revive and kind of dated model where engineering and manufacturing have advanced past that. And so, yeah.
Yeah. I personally I like the Fisker Karma. There's one on sale on Craigslist for 40 grand if you're interested in looking right now. Don't do it.
Yeah, but I
But
could see this being a success. So Fisker mostly is going to do a concierge model. They will have some brand experience centers, but they will be, if you order one, they will just deliver it to you. They'll bring it to you, kind of deal. I wonder how servicing is going to be because that even for Tesla has been a struggle. That's kind of the biggest case for the mainstream brands, right? Like if you get a Ford, you're going to find a million Ford dealerships across North America.
Mhm,
And even VW, there's probably not as many as Ford dealerships, but there are a lot of VW dealerships. So that's what makes kind of ID4 and the Mach-E more easy to approach vehicles. But I think Fisker, I mean, it's a unique looking car. Like it doesn't look like anything else,
mhm.
and it is just another like crossover box on wheels kind of thing. But I think I really like the styling of it. Like I think it looks different enough, and it's like it's their own thing. They haven't really established that um you know image in popular psyche yet, so we don't really know. Okay, what's a Fisker supposed to look? We kind of know what a Tesla's supposed to look like. That's why they all kind of look the same, just that blobby look. And then you have a Cybertruck, but yeah, Fisker. This car, a few cool things about it. So the screen rotates for one, 17-inch screen in the middle. When you're driving, it's in portrait. When you're parked, when you're charging, you can have it rotate and use that for watching movies, which is pretty awesome. Makes a lot of sense actually, because the portrait layout and then yeah, swivel over for. It's got hard or fixed buttons on the bottom too, I guess.
Yeah,
Oh, the
has
fixed buttons stay in the center console, and the screen rotates around it. So those buttons don't move. So you have real climate controls um, that are where you need it. Like the
mhm.
defrost button is there. You don't need to look for it. Interior is very simple, very Tesla in that sense. It doesn't have. It's not very traditional, I would say.
But you
Um,
do get a cluster.
Yeah. So like better than a Model 3 in that sense.
Yeah, Model 3, Model Y.
Yeah.
Forged carbon in the wheels. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. I'm sure that's only on like the higher trims, but
Oh,
yeah.
you can get 3 different wheel options on the
Oh, you
Sport.
can bring your price down to 37,499 with the
Yeah,
base wheels.
these are so ugly though.
They're ugly, but they will do because
They're 20s and then they just look like
they look like
they look like
hubcaps.
they
Like
are
a
hubcaps.
94 Corolla LE hub,
It,
but stretched in a 20 and some kid spray painted black in a Walmart parking lot. That's what it looks like.
it looks horrible. Don't like. I mean, if you want the stock wheels, at least upgrade to the 22s. The 23s that has a forged carbon in it. I think the 22s is good
Yeah, they're both
enough.
22s.
Oh, the 20. Oh, never
It's
mind.
called
That's
the
not
F3.
F. I dyslexic. Just saw the
Yeah.
three.
The base wheel is pretty dang ugly. Not gonna lie, but you can just go aftermarket. Honestly,
Yeah.
like yeah, like Tesla. Okay, Tesla is one of these good cases where just go aftermarket because Tesla's done a really bad job with their wheels. The paint finish is terrible. A lot of them crack, and they weigh a decent amount. They're not even light. Like for an EV, like they basically failed on the wheel front. So you're better off going aftermarket. So yeah, maybe take the ugly wheels because the 20 inches is pretty big still on a car like this.
The rear
Uh,
window rolls down.
Rear window rolls down. Not only the rear window, the rear three-quarter windows roll down.
What?
So yeah, so not just the back door, but the one kind of in the luggage compartment that rolls down, and then the roof is a solar panel that also opens up.
Oh,
I don't think they have any pictures of it. They had one earlier on in their concept drawings of the roof opening up, but basically the front half of the roof goes pretty far back and it opens up for really wide opening, and they call it, I think, California mode or something like that. So the higher end,
makes sense.
I think the Ultra and up are gonna have that button. You just press it, opens all the windows for that fresh feeling, I guess. But yeah, I think it's a really good looking vehicle. I think it will work for a lot of people. You know, it's a practical shape. It's got a good amount of range, no matter which model you go with. Um, Hopefully, yeah, it does well, but it's a small company again. It's gonna have a lot of these growing pains that Tesla has and is still struggling with. That, you know, you got to consider the mainstream alternatives from Kia, Hyundai, Ford, VW. So many good ones out there nowadays. But this is something unique. I think it is. It's cool, and the solar roof is legit. Like, well, obviously this car is very Californian, so they test this in California, but they say you can get 1,500 to 2,000 miles of extra range every year just parking it in the sun, which makes a lot of sense,
It's not
right?
bad.
Like, yeah, even in a rainy city, you still get a lot of UV, I guess. And yeah, it kind of makes sense to do solar panel roofs. I guess it's probably cost effective enough nowadays to do that. So I have really high hopes for this car. Like, I really hope it does well. Price point wise, it's just not as competitive, I think, compared considering that you have giant manufacturers doing cars with similar range at this level, at this price point.
Well,
But it
the
is unique.
something that they say on the bottom here is a flexible lease starts at 379 a month.
Yeah, so their lease is kind of like a subscription program. And okay, yeah, $3,000 initiation and activation fee.
Yeah,
So it's like a down
so
payment.
it's a
So
down
that is
payment.
actually a really easy way to get into your car. But it
Yeah,
is
right. 400 bucks. It's not a lot.
and up to 30,000 miles a year. Like, that's a lot of mileage
Yeah.
to put on your car. That is yeah, so they've got ways to make this car appealing to the masses even without the dealer network. I think this could be a game changer.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Oh, here's all the
California mode.
here's all the
Yeah, so if you check out
differences.
fiskerinc.com, don't go to the Scissor website by accident. Fisker, Fisker Inc. Inc.com. Then you can see kind of the different pricing and stuff. They will be the site right now is just US, but they will have they do plan on selling it in Canada as well. So we can get our hands on them, hopefully.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It seems like the Revolve touchscreen, it's only available on the Extreme. The
Ah,
base model gets a central touchscreen,
it's the
17
same
point.
one. It just doesn't move, I guess.
Doesn't move. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't also get the immersive audio system. And there's also
Okay.
gaming.
Yeah, yeah. And then so
What?
their immersive audio, I was reading the press release, and the immersive audio system includes a subwoofer, and the subwoofer, it's not about how many watts it is. It's a 20.5 liter volume subwoofer. So 5 jugs of milk. So it's a
Oh,
pretty decent size subwoofer. I
this
don't know how powerful it is, but it's
is
it's 5 jugs of milk worth of
the newest measurement of subwoofers. How many
milk
liters?
jugs.
How many milk jugs does your subwoofer move?
Yeah, like that's a
Because
pretty decent size, so I think it should sound pretty good. Audio
I'm
system in an EV is kind of nice.
I'm assuming it's liters, like how much air it moves for a section of time kind of thing.
Oh, not
Um,
the interior cubic feet, like the volume.
probably not.
I think it's might be 5 jugs of milk. I don't
Uh,
know.
okay, so it looks like lane change assist and adaptive drive control is part of the extreme package as well. You
Mm,
have to step up to the ultra to get the 360 camera, which is one of those things that you probably wouldn't
Yeah.
want.
I think in Canada we'll probably spring for the Ultra anyways. Like for the $10,000, getting the extra range, all-wheel drive, and a few other standard features, that is still undercutting the Model Y by
Mhm.
about $4,000 in the States. Three to $4,000. Um, Obviously, you don't get the charging network. We've heard enough about the charging network. Let's move on with the charging network, because yeah, the nice thing about this is it takes a standard plug at least, so you can use other charging stations without buying your own adapter.
But I can buy an
Yeah,
adapter on Alibaba, blah blah
yeah,
blah.
and then short circuit myself and then void my warranty and
It's
like
fine.
yeah,
Not bad. Definitely not bad. Looks like if you want
yeah.
heated front and rear seats, you have to step up to the extreme as well.
Yeah, we
Oh,
don't know what the options are because it's extreme is such a big step up
it
compared to
is
the
68.
ultra, but the ultra it seems like the good buy. Maybe because it's a California car, they kind of overlook the heated seats.
Yeah, like why would you need it kind of thing.
Yeah, like no one here, no one in this room has asked for heated seats. We're not gonna do it. You,
No,
yeah,
no, that totally makes sense. That
yeah,
absolutely makes sense.
that could be it. Yeah. But no, excited to see these on our roads. I hope to see more of them. I'm sick of seeing the
Teslas,
same Tesla every day. Like
the same
here in
white
Richmond
Tesla.
and Vancouver, it's just like I'm so like, why is everyone driving this? Okay, I don't mind that everyone's driving them. I get why they're popular, but don't flex it, please. Like it's not a flex to have a white Tesla.
Especially a white Model 3 Tesla.
Yeah, SR plus.
Like
Some even SRs.
if you have like a Y, I get a little bit more, but I mean, if you just have a base Model 3, it's really not much. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's like the price of a mid-level Sienna.
Yeah,
It's like you,
it's.
it's not a
I
flex.
mean, if you calculate the cost of the car and the insurance as well as the gas, it's comparable to like a Camry. That's
Hmm.
it. It's really nothing that special. Uh, anyways, I think that's really it for this week. Do you have any updates on our little RAV4?
Little RAV4. Everything
Well,
is good with it. There's no news is good news, I think, for that car. Nothing's breaking. We're still driving it every day, putting some mileage on it because one of my employees broke his car and is driving that. So Little RAV4 is doing well. We
cool.
alignment bolts come in tomorrow, so gonna do an alignment on it and see how it actually drives because it's been a little bit sketchy since we lifted it because everything's been out of whack. But I wanted to get camber bolts before I did alignment on it so I can dial back in the front, and because it has no sway bars now, it handles extra weird. So yeah, hopefully the alignment will sort everything out. We do have another potential off-roader incoming, depending on how Craigslist goes. But
Don't hold your
yeah,
breath.
don't hold your breath on that one because yeah, there's so many deals. Like my friend, I was showing you that RAV4 V6, and then he messaged a guy, and he's like, I don't feel like selling it for this price anymore. I've got too many inquiries. Like people are weird these days. Like the market is weird right now, and yeah, there is it's bizarre. Like it's not that the cars we're looking at are cheap. They're under $5,000. But it's still hard to get your hands on one. It's hard to get your hands on anything these days. Graphics cards, iPhones, I don't know. Yeah, everything.
iPhones is a little easier. You can just
Yeah,
walk into. Actually, no, you can't get the new ones. They're still out of stock.
exactly. Like everything is tricky. Uh it's weird times. It's weird time. It's
Yeah,
not
even
having
toilet
money
paper.
doesn't do. Yeah, toilet paper, nitrile gloves are hard to get. Like stuff that you'd never think would be hard to get like 2 years ago is now
It's like everything's out
yeah.
of stock. And
Mhm.
here in Vancouver, it's worse. I don't
Mhm.
know if you heard, but they might go on strike at the port on Friday. So,
Oh, that is not gonna help, I guess. Yeah.
more things to go wrong. But I think that's really it for this week's Kicking Dice. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and listening in, and we'll catch you
See you
next week.
next week.